Hey gang, today we're going to continue on our beginning blues soloing journey. And before we do, I just want to show you, here's a cool new guitar I got. It's a classic vibe Telecaster. It's a Squire by Fender, and it's a great beginning blues guitar. I'm going to do a review of this coming right up, and I did put a link of it down below if you want to check it out. You just can't wait for the review. Anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and I think it's a common misconception that a lot of players who are beginning the blues have. And that is the over-focusing on what to play instead of how to play it. I would say that generally in music, people focus more on what to play than how to play, and I think it's a general mistake that people make. But it's especially bad in the blues, because what really differentiates a lot of players is not the note choice, but really the way that they make the notes sound and getting them to sound good. And so what I wanted to do today is basically just to show you one lick. It's a very common lick, and you can use it in lots of different things. But the key thing about it is I'll tell you the secret about how to get the licks to sound good and to sound your own. Okay? So that's what's going to happen. First, I want to show it to you up close. I'll show you the lick up close so you can see the notes themselves, which are pretty straightforward. Okay, so this is the what to play part of this particular lesson. And all we're going to do is learn this particular lick. Now, this is a lick over an A chord, or it was also a work over an A minor, or an A7, or related chord. Okay, and so it's movable. If you play a D, it will work if you move the lick up to here. Okay, so here is the lick. You've probably heard it before, and it is pretty straightforward. We're going to start out on the G string. So we're going to take the G string 7th fret, bend that up a whole step, and then play 5-5 on the B string and the E string. And then on the B string, we're going to play 8, which is a G, and bend it up to the 10, which is an A. Now, I like to give a little vibrato, and I think you should too. But we're going to talk about that in the how to play section. Okay, so what's the secret? Well, I won't beat around the bush about this. There's not really much of a secret. The secret is you've got to play it over and over and over and over and over. And it's not to memorize it. It's not so you can memorize a zillion licks. That's not the point. The point is to make it part of the vocabulary of what you do on the guitar, is to make it your own. And I really mean this. When you play it twice, you'll learn the notes. When you play it 100 times, you will learn the nuances, and you will add things to it that are only your own. Let me just give you a couple of examples. Now, before I do, there's other things that you can do. You can play it in other keys. That's a good thing to do. People talk about that often, but what they don't often talk about is it's not just about learning licks. It's about making that sound part of what you do on the guitar. So let me give you a couple of examples to start. So we're starting with this lick. This is the starting point. Okay, so we can think about what are some of the tricks that a blues player might do, or that's pretty common. Bends are pretty common. It's already got one in there, got 2 of them in there. How about vibrato? Vibrato is something that often happens. So you can add vibrato in various places. A good place is at the end of a phrase to add vibrato. So you could do something like this. You could experiment with how you like that vibrato. Should it be wide like I just played right there? Tom Scholz sort of vibrato. Or should it be more erratic and spastic sounding? That's up to you. Lots of different players like it different ways. And by the way, you'll learn how to control your vibrato by playing around with that, yes, again, hundreds of times. Let me show you something else. Maybe you don't like the vibrato. Maybe you don't like that bend at the end. maybe you're not that great at bending, or maybe you're good at bending, but you just want to end it some other way. You could try to get to that note in a different way. So, for example, you might slide to it. So that could be something. Now, those are pretty basic things, but there's other things. There's dynamic considerations. Instead of just playing it like that, what if I wanted to play it a lot harder? Something like this. Something like that. Now I've got to learn how to rake. I've got to learn how to rake, or I've got to learn how to be very precise by hitting those two bends. The first note and that last note. Some people might rake to it. Some people might just play it directly. Whatever works for you. And it shouldn't be whatever works for you, actually. It should be after you figure out what sounds good that you can do, doing it better and better and better. And it will eventually be whatever works for you. Let me show you one more thing, and that is adding some little signatures that are all your own. One of the things that I like to do, a lot of people like to do it, I won't pretend I invented it, but is to add trail offs into your lick. So sometimes I won't end the lick on where it's supposed to go, but I'll come down a little bit. So instead of this, I might play something like that. You've heard blues players do that. Stevie Ray Vaughan will often come down with that kind of thing. Buddy Guy used to do that as well. A lot of players did that sort of thing. So that comes by playing lots. That comes by playing a lick a lot of times and playing music a lot of times. So don't be afraid to just play the heck out of the licks that you have. Again, not to memorize them so you can pull out and say, okay, I want to do this lick now, and then I want to do that lick, and then I want to do the other. And I string together a bunch of licks. If I got them all memorized, I can play a whole solo. That's not the idea. The idea is to take your time with it, figure out what translates from your fingers through the amp into your ears, something that sounds good and sounds like you. It shouldn't just be playing tab. All right, focus on how to play rather than what to play, and I think you'll get farther as a blues player than the people who focus on knowing the minor pentatonic and all the different places and then some, right? Nothing wrong with that, but I think if you never focus on how to play, you're losing out on a lot of good blues playing and a lot of improvement that you can make, and we all want to get better, right? Till next time, we will see you on down the road.